every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
New Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline is engineered with 4 levels of defense against gunk, wear, corrosion, and friction. It's sort of like having ninjas protect your engine. That helps keep your engine running like new. New Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. It's fuel for thought in engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline.
Sarcoma. Odds are you've never heard that word before. For the 40 people diagnosed with sarcoma every day, it is a life-changing word because sarcoma is cancer. Through awareness, advocacy, and research, the Sarcoma Foundation of America is bringing hope to the families whose lives have been turned upside down by a cancer they had never heard of until diagnosis. Please join us in the fight to find the cure for sarcoma. For more information on the work of the Sarcoma Foundation of America, go to curesarcoma.org.
The following program, the Rewind Sports 60, is sponsored by Jerry Riles and, to the extent applicable, his guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of NewsWeb Radio Company or its management.
The Rewind
Sports
60.
From the city of big shoulders, the jewel of the Midwest, comes a sports show that's one of a kind. From iconic players to iconic stadiums to iconic teams, this is my kind of town. Chicago! And the Rewind Sports 60 is my kind of show. From Air Jordan to Sweetness to Papa Bear Hallis, this city works hard, but plays even harder. Danny Carlino and Jerry Riles bring you the Rewind Sports 60. Live. The Rewind Sports 60 starts now.
Thank you, Ernie. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. We're broadcasting and streaming live on Facebook from the beautiful studios of WCPT 820 AM in the beautiful, beautiful city of Chicago. And Lord, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for holding off the rain. Thank you for holding off the rain. Ladies and gentlemen, this is another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. We're here every Sunday from 6 to 7 p.m. Love to hear from you. Our number here is 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT, the fastest hour in sports conversation. We love to get a chance to talk with you about some White Sox baseball, some Cub baseball, the Crosstown Classic, NBA basketball. The Chicago Bulls are back, ladies and gentlemen. The Chicago Bulls are back. They have a North Carolina product. They have a guard. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on our way. John Paxson, guard foreman. Hallelujah. Open it up. The return of Derrick Rose. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bulls are back on the map. Well, I guess we have to wait to see. And, of course, we'll get a chance to talk about the 35th anniversary, back in 1984, June 23rd. Where were you? Where were you? Ryne Sandberg Day at Wrigley Field against the St. Louis Cardinals, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get an opportunity to talk about that. George Castle, the best Chicago sports historian in the Chicagoland area in baseball, will be joining us to talk about that. No question about it. This is the fastest hour in sports conversation, and folks, let's get to him. He's the one. He's the only. He's the Italian stallion. He's DC. He's Danny Carlino. What's up, Danny?
Good evening, Jerry. It's good to be here once again. Another good Sunday evening. Summer's halfway here, I guess. It's officially here,
here.
Sort of got a little humidity, which I don't know as I care for, but it's nice to have the sun come out sometimes.
Yeah.
Some ominous clouds here on the way to the studio. I don't know if that rain's going to hold out much longer.
You know what is interesting? I'm watching my app, and you know what? I understand this stuff, but I'm an old school guy. If Tom Skilling over at WGN Channel 9 is not telling me about what the weather is going to be for the week, I'm not paying attention to it.
He never does. He's telling you what's going on in Alaska, which might happen here in a week and a half from now.
That's true, but he's more accurate than anyone that I know as far as the weather, and no offense to any of those people out there, Tracy Butler and any of you guys out there giving us the weather and all that stuff. That's fine. Alicia, what's her name? Alicia Rowan over there, I think, NBC Channel 5. No worries about it. I understand. Tom Skilling does it right. But I'm telling you, I'm looking at this app all week long, and I'm saying, hey, you know what? The rain. Every day it said it was going to rain. You got the little thunderbolt, thunder showers and everything. They got the little rain. I'm like, dude, it's going to be. And it didn't rain as much as they said that it was.
Here's my... Tom Skilling aside, and I did take a weather class in college, so I have 9 weeks of training. If you
I
wanna
took a
call
weather
it.
class too, whether or not I should go.
Yeah, but here's what it is. Every day is a 30% chance of precipitation, especially here.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
Actually, here is a 20% chance it's going to be hot. There's a 20% chance it's going to be cold.
Yeah.
There's a 25% chance it's going to rain. There's a 25% chance it's going to snow. You're fine. So bring your whole closet with you.
You're absolutely right. You just simply don't know. And I got to say, it was awesome. I'm glad the rain held off because the beautiful city of Wheeling in the northern suburbs of the great city of Chicago celebrated the 125th Jubilee anniversary of the town, and they had the parade today, and the Rewind Sports 60 WCPT 820 AM was representing in the parade, and thank goodness that the rains held off until the conclusion of the parade. But I got to say hello to everyone over there, Pat Horker, the village president, and all the fine folks. Sherry Klump, who's a commissioner over there. Dave Vogel has done a fantastic job getting us a position in there. All the Knights of Columbus, everyone, Henry Hackney Jr. and the Chicago or the Wheeling Park Library over there, all those folks. It was a great turnout. The folks in Wheeling did a fantastic job, and it was just a lot of fun. I got to say kudos to my oldest daughter, Teresa. She was driving the vehicle. She was driving a TRS60 swag mobile, and it was a lot of fun, blaring the music and everything. Yeah.
She was Miss TRS60?
Yeah, she was Miss TRS60. So
she waved?
No, she had it all down, man. She had her glasses gone. She got the music pumping, and she's doing the Miss America wave and all that good stuff. But
like she's changing the light bulb.
It was fun. It was fun. Everyone. Dan Patlack was out there. It was good to see him, and a lot of folks. Dean Argyris over there at Colsack Funeral Homes. I got to just do some name dropping over there, but it was a lot of fun. It certainly was. Ladies and gentlemen, he was not on the mound at Wrigley Field today. He wasn't over there. But he was in the stands watching Javi Baez get his 100th home run as a Chicago Cubs shortstop. Ladies and gentlemen, you love him. He is the marvelous one. He's Dan Marver. What's up, Danny?
Hey, guys. Great to be here.
Boom.
When we arrived today, the tarp was on the field, so I was a little bit nervous. But you were talking about old school. I thought maybe your bunions were going to predict the weather or something. But
oh, man. You know what? My ankle used to do that, but my good doctor, Dr. Paul Goodman over there at North Shore Medical, did a fantastic job. But it used to do that when it got damp out there, the ankle, it would go.
And the Mets bullpen, I don't know. I mean, it's 0-2 and Javi. And, Javi's been swinging at everything within 3 feet of the plate all day. And he gets the home run to right field. I mean, the guy could have bounced it in.
Yeah.
Who knows what would have happened.
You don't have to be Kreskin to predict that the Mets bullpen will implode.
Right.
That's hilarious.
They're still in first place. That league is crazy. It's 5.5 now from first to last in that National League Central. It's insane. And then you're talking about the Bulls. I mean, Michael Jordan's only 56. He might be
marvelous one. I'm glad you said only.
Yeah,
I'm glad you said that.
Right.
You're absolutely right. But hopefully Kobe White. And if you didn't have an opportunity to read the fabulous story that he put together for the Players Tribune, it's a must read. There's no question about it. If you're a dad, if you're a son, or whatever the case may be, you got to read it. It's a must read, and I'm glad that he shared it with the public, because there was a lot that he had to share as far as his emotions and the loss of his father a couple years ago, in I think August 15, 2017, liver cancer. It's a great read, and I'm expecting a lot more from this young man. He had a chance to meet with Jim Boylan, who was over at the Advocate Center prior to the draft, and he said that he and Jim Boylan, it was immediate lock. It was immediate lock. So I'm looking forward to this kid as a Chicago Bull. And Chris Dunn. Hey, man.
Dunn.
Close the door. Hey, turn out the lights and lock the door. We'll see you later, buddy. Take care of yourself. Have a good one.
No, he don't have to lock the door. You just take the keys from him.
He gone.
The sad part is he was the keystone of the trade with Minnesota.
Yeah.
When Butler was traded.
I mean, I don't want to make light of it, but, I mean, it's going to be kind of difficult for the Bulls to trade him because his stock isn't as high as they would hope for. But it's going to be some competition. John Paxson, who the night of the draft addressed the media, and he rattled off, the names of the players who were expecting to do well, and he forgot to mention Chris Dunn.
He rattled off the entire roster, the Lovables, the whole thing. Oh yeah,
Benny the Bull, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was Casey Johnson that said, hey, you didn't mention Chris Dunn. And Pax was like, oh, sorry about that. I didn't realize that.
Mentioned the Windy City Bulls roster. The cleaning crew.
Oh, my God. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the fastest hour in sports conversation. You love him. He gets the job done at the bottom and the top of the hour. This fast hour, ladies and gentlemen, this man is the best. From the Monster Education Foundation Sports Desk here at WCPT 820 AM, our TRS60 scoreboard update. Man, what's Javi Baez's nickname again?
El Mago.
El Mago! He's Gabe Salgado. What's up, Gabe?
You know, you and Danny are debating the weather. All I know is I've had my air conditioning on for the last couple days.
Really?
Just like Mother Nature intended.
Exactly.
You must not be near the lake.
Actually, you know what? I was near the lake last night. It did get a little breezy, but beyond that, I've had my air conditioner going.
You know, it's interesting because the other night, Marvelous at Wrigley Field, they were bundled up like for the Crosstown Classic, I think
the
it was.
Second game especially.
It was like cold. 40 degrees out.
Candlestick Park. You know.
People had their Parkers on. They had their skull caps on with the earmuffs and everything, and Gabe's got his air conditioner on. God bless you, Gabe. God bless you, buddy.
He's got a little fan right now, doesn't he?
No, actually, there's a little bit of AC blowing in here, too, in the studio, so I'm good to go.
Sounds good. Hey, man, if you guys want to join us, ladies and gentlemen, you want to join us at the fastest hour, feel free, again, to give us a call, 773-763-9278, 763-WCPT. Danny Carlino, the Italian Stallion, the Marvelous One, Dan Marver, Gabe Salgado with the updates, and, of course, yours truly, folks. If you want to join in, feel free to give us a ring. We already got calls rolling in. Roosevelt is on the TR60 line. Lock it in. We're going to take a short time out, get to your phone calls, get to your conversation. This is the Rewind Sports 60. Keep it locked in.
It's the end of the quarter. Time for a break in the action. The hottest sports panel in Chicago will get back to the fast-paced action, streaming live on Facebook Live. We're back at it after this quick timeout. So don't you dare touch that iPhone, Android, iPad, Mac, or PC. Lock it in.
The Rewind Sports 60 is brought to you by the Liquor Barn, located in Wheeling and Niles. Stop by 287 East Dundee Road in Wheeling or 8170 Gulf Road in Niles for all your wine and spirits needs. The Liquor Barn, located in Wheeling and Niles. And remember, tell Marcel and Tom in Wheeling that the Rewind Sports 60 told you to stop in and say hello. Mention the Rewind Sports 60 and receive a free gift.
Go, Ella!
Way to hustle, Jan.
Our daughters live for sports.
Hey, their dentist told them your smallest piece of equipment may be your most important.
Now they always wear mouth guards.
Yeah, mouth guards help protect against broken teeth, head injuries too, like concussions.
All from a little mouth guard.
They're small, but mighty.
Just like our kids.
Talk to a Chicago Dental Society dentist. Visit cds.org/mouthguard. Sponsored by the Chicago Dental Society, aired in cooperation with this station.
The Rewind Sports 60 is brought to you by Serenello's Ristorante Italiano. Inspired by his travels and passion for Italy's culture, executive chef Michael Bonner has created a broad menu of Italian fare, utilizing the freshest ingredients to create the fullest flavors to bring homemade, handcrafted pizzas and pastas, as well as prime steaks and fresh fish dishes to the table. Feel the energy while dining in a casual and rustic setting. Dine at natural reclaimed wood tables surrounded by inviting darker woods, exposed brick beams, subtle filament lighting, and accented with muted chocolate and caramel tones throughout. An impressive 50-foot bar lines an entire wall with seating for all. The perfect place to relax, eat, and drink with their family and friends. Serenello's Ristorante Italiano is located at 601 North Milwaukee Avenue in Wheeling. Tell them the Rewind Sports 60 told you to stop by.
Hi, I'm Liz Nicholson Sullivan. As the wife of a 9-year NFL veteran suffering the long-term effects of untreated and undiagnosed head injuries, I know how dangerous concussions can be. The Concussion Legacy Foundation is a nonprofit dedicated to keeping kids safe in sports. Their Team Up, Speak Up program teaches kids to speak up to a coach or athletic trainer if they think their teammate might have a concussion. Whether you're a parent, coach, or athlete, you can make a difference. Join me and sign up at teamupspeakup.org.
The Rewind Sports 60 is sponsored by Bazaar World. Stop by Bazaar World in Niles, celebrating their grand opening with a huge sale. Hats, gloves, belts, rings, bracelets, necklaces, and much, much more. The largest jewelry and accessory store in the Chicagoland area. Bazaar World, located at 8526 West Gulf Road in Niles, near the corner of Milwaukee and Gulf. Bazaar World in Niles. Stop in and say hello to Alex. Mention a Rewind Sports 60 and receive a free gift.
If it's Chicago sports you want, you're in the right place.
Hello, Chicago!
The Rewind Sports 60.
That's the best in the city of Chicago.
Welcome back to the Rewind Sports 60 live with the best sports panel in Chicago. Lock it in.
Then the double or triple.
Into left center field and deep. This is a tie ball game. Producer of baseball, Harry Coyle. 1-1 pitch. He hits it to deep left center. Look out! Do you believe it? It's gone! We will go to the 11th, tied at 11. Sandberg in the Cubs' last at-bat has twice delivered a game-tying home run, a solo shot of the ninth, a two-run blast with 2 out of the 10.
Congratulations at the 35th anniversary of the Ryne Sandberg game. Welcome back to the Rewind Sports 60. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, along with the Italian Stallion, DC, Danny Carlino, the marvelous one, Dan Marver, and of course, Gabe Salgado, minutes away from a TRS60 scoreboard update. Bottom and the top of the hour, the fastest hour in sports conversation. The anniversary of Ryne Sandberg's incredible game. 7 RBIs in that game, 2 dingers to tie it up off of the closer, who was once a Chicago Cub, Bruce Sutter, and he was not a happy man. The announcers for that game was
a young Bob Costas.
Oh, the young Bob Costas, and of course Tony Kubek in the Wrigley Field press box
the
up
old
there.
Press box.
But it was fabulous, and I got to ask you gentlemen, and if you want to join in and share your thoughts as far as where you were 35 years ago, June 23rd, 1984. Feel free to give us a ring at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. Those of you hanging on, we'll get to your phone calls. But Danny Carlino, where were you? Where were you on that fabulous day, summer day in Chicago when Ryne Sandberg basically went nuts and won the game for the Cubs?
Well, I'm pretty sure I didn't see the whole game. But typically as a kid, game of the week, right? Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So my Saturday schedule, typically as a kid, revolved around this Saturday morning cartoons, and during the winter, at about noon or left, maybe 2 o'clock, I forget what it was.
Right.
It was the bowling tour on ABC.
There you go.
And then in the summertime, it was the game of the week on NBC. That's pretty much what it was.
There you go. But you don't recall exactly
I'm
where
sure
you
I
were?
watched some of it. I was probably in the living room of my parents' house, and I'm sure I saw some of it. But as far as where I was if I saw the 9th inning or 11th inning, I couldn't tell you for sure. I'm sure I caught some of it though.
Marvelous one. Where were you?
I was in my parents' home in Wilmette, watching with my dad. Sandberg had 7 RBIs that game, and it's kind of interesting to me with with Costas. He's giving the credits. He's already saying, "Harry Coyle." Yeah. He's like getting ready to say goodbye.
Right. and he said in his ear they were telling him to name who the player of the game was.
Right.
And do you remember who it was? The St. Louis Cardinals. Of course, the Cubs playing their arch rivals, the St. Louis Cardinals at Wrigley Field, which is always a doozy, no question about it. But I'm trying to remember.
The box score, Willie McGee had 6 RBIs.
Yeah, Willie McGee was he would have been the player of the game. And as soon as Costas was about to mention that, that's when Ryne Sandberg just took Bruce Sutter deep into left field of the friendly confines, and everybody went crazy. Gabe Salgado, where were you 35 years ago, June 23rd, 1984?
I'm going to assume that my mom probably was feeding me my bottle or put me down for a nap because I was only like 2 at the time.
Okay.
So I definitely don't recall watching that game. Too young to remember.
Well, thank you for setting it up that way because I'm old enough to remember the game. I was actually at the game. I was actually a beer vendor at the game.
So you were tending to a bottle too, but you were.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Carlino. I was a beer vendor at the game, and the beautiful 1984 was a fabulous year for me. 83 was a fabulous year as well because the White Sox, the winning ugly team, was winning ugly and getting the job done. Harold Baines and all the guys, they did a fantastic job to set the stage as far as winning is concerned in baseball in Chicago. Then, of course, the Cubs took the mantle in 1984. Right. But during that game, this is the beautiful thing about it, because I was a beer vendor. And unlike today, there's so much that changed from back then, 35 years ago, till today. Then, Carlino, Marvelous, Gabe, you can actually sell beer after the game. Right now,
on the way out.
On the way out, they cut it off at the seventh inning. I think the middle of the seventh inning, they cut it off, so beer vendors can't go out anymore. Back in 1984, you could actually sell beer at the end of the game while the patrons are filing out of Wrigley Field.
Can they drink it on the street?
Oh yeah,
now you can't even drink it on the street.
You can't even drink on the street now. But it was beautiful, and so when I'm still selling, and so when Rhino hit the second homer, I'd run out because I was underneath at the getting the beer commissary. So I wanted to determine if I should get another 2 cases or 1 case, because you could carry doubles. I ran out up the stairs and, in the stands, this guy jacks one out. The place goes nuts. Wrigley Field goes nuts. It was a packed house, of course. I run back down. I get 2 loads of beer, and I make my way around. By the time the Cubs end the game, and they win it on a Dave Owens base hit to right field, driving in Leon Duran. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But he drove in Leon Duran for the winning run to win it 12-11 in 11 innings, as you heard Bob Costa say. I run underneath the stands, and I sit on the rail as the patrons are filing out from the upper deck down around the ramp. And I'm selling, who needs a beer? Old Style, Budweiser. And Danny, it was just a beautiful thing, man. So it was just a beautiful thing.
So Old Style was the beer back then, too?
It was Old Style and Budweiser beer. So Cub fans drank the Old Style. Why? Because they didn't want to support Budweiser, which is St. Louis.
The Bush family,
the St. Louis fans wanted the Budweiser. And it was, either way, it was a hot summer day, and it was a great game. And either side, either beer that you selected, you had a pretty good day.
You had 2 more innings to sell, too.
Oh, my God, it was the best. It was the best.
Yeah, no question. 84 was a great year. They made the playoffs. Yeah. They hadn't been in the playoffs since 45.
Exactly.
Right?
Of course, we don't want to. And that was the jump start to get that team motivated. Remember, of course, they acquired Rick Sutcliffe, which really catapulted. And it was interesting because they made the deal Mel Hall.
Right.
And I talked to Mel Hall when the deal came down, and he was very, very disappointed. Of course, you're going to Cleveland. I'd be disappointed, too. But he was not happy because Mel Hall was one of the fan favorites of that baseball team when the Cubs made the move to deal him. And we brought in Rick Sutcliffe because we needed the ace. We needed a pitcher. And Rick picked up the ball, picked up the
16-1,
deal.
no big deal.
No question about it. But that game, that Rhino game, was the one that jump-started that team to the playoffs.
Oh, that wasn't even the best thing that happened in 84, in case my wife's listening.
Uh-oh.
We were married in July.
Boom! Well, I got to tell you, I have to say the same thing because that's where I met my beautiful wife, Lisa, at Wrigley Field. I was a beer vendor.
You sold her an Old Style on the way out? She tipped me.
No,
what's your name?
Hey, I sold her me. No, but she was
woman.
You better believe it, Carlino.
You really sold her.
You better believe it.
Goods.
She was a Andy Frayne usher, and I was a beer vendor, and boom, the rest is history. Before we take our time out, let's go to the phone lines and pick it up with Roosevelt, who's been patiently waiting on our TR60 line. Roosevelt, welcome to the Rewind Sports 60. Where were you 35 years ago, if you're old enough to remember, my good friend?
Oh, yeah, I'm 62. I do remember. I was on 47th and Winchester, my old neighborhood.
There you go, South Side.
My apartment, and I saw the first home run, and then I said, there's no way these guys are going to, So I walked a block away to my friend's house. I get there, and people were screaming just as I get there because they said he hit another one,
Yeah.
And they were, and correct me, Jerry, was that a day that was really hot? I mean, I remember that.
Yeah, it was really hot, and that's why
hot.
Exactly. That's why I tell the story of me selling beer to even after the game because it was electric there, and it was very hot, and the Old Style was flooring, the Budweiser was flooring, and it was just a great game. It was a great day, and we had a great time afterwards as well.
It was fantastic. I'll never forget it. I remember, and I don't remember the time, but it had to be about 3 o'clock, maybe 4 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah. I think it was maybe 3:30, 3:45.
Yeah.
I kind of remember that.
I remember I was drinking Old Style at the same time.
Well, you know what, Wrigleyville. You think Wrigleyville was popping? Is popping now? Wrigleyville back then.
Oh yeah.
Before the renovations and all that stuff, it was a happening time.
I was at the game. My wife was 9 months pregnant with that battle between the Cardinals and the Cubs with that other game where Sosa hit 2 home runs that day. It was 95 plus that day, and the place went crazy. That I believe Gracie got a hit, and the Cardinals. The Cardinals lost against the Cubs. And my wife was not, and she called it prior. And she was a Sox fan, but she turned to a Cubs fan because of the way the Sox treated Carlton Fisk, and that was her favorite player. And she never agreed with that. But anyway, I was there. I was there for that game too. When Sammy hit 2, and my wife called it. By the way. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, okay. Yeah. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about. See what you guys think about. Is it just me, or have the Cubs been getting caught? Guys that are not great runners like Rizzo and Schwarber, and they kill an inning. And these guys are not known for runners. What I'm trying to say is it because they're trying to push the runner ahead of them to make sure that the run scores because the game is so tight? Are they doing this on their own, or is the third base coach sending them? I mean, I've seen these guys getting caught between first and second. For some reason, I've noticed that this year more than ever. And Rizzo in particular. I love Rizzo, but to me, he's killing an inning. I don't know what you guys think, or is it just me that I happen to notice that more?
Roosevelt, I was at the game today, and the first base coach clearly was involved with sending Rizzo to second on the double that scored the run that brought them within 1 run at 3-2. But I think it was his fault when he got trapped in that bad play on Friday.
And that's without a play also. I mean, these guys are getting caught standing up, between first and second. And Schwarber did it, I believe, last week or the week before. For some reason, I happen to notice that more this year than ever. I mean, I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, you know what? And Roosevelt, thank you for the call, and we appreciate you holding on, my good friend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. I think that part of the problem with the Cubs as far as running is concerned is that really they don't have any speed. Mm-hmm. They don't have any speed. I mean, with the exception of Javi Baez and, I think that's part of the problem as far as their base running blunders are concerned, because they want to do station to station. Right. They want to try small ball at times, but they just don't have the personnel. The guys aren't speed.
They had a double steal today on what looked like ball 4.
You know
Hayward
what?
went to third, Bodie went to second.
Yeah.
Caratini was batting.
Yeah.
And everybody thought it was ball 4, and the catcher threw like a soft throw to third.
Real quick, before we take a short time out with Gabe Salgado, let's go back to the phones real quick. Ed has been waiting patiently. Ed, what's up? Welcome to the Rewind Sports 60 on WCPT 820 AM.
Yeah, I want to talk about this guy, Bruce Koepka, this #1 rated golfer in the world right now. And I'm not a golf fan. I'm a Tiger Woods fan. Unlike millions of people who got into golf because of Tiger. Mm-hmm. This guy, Bruce Koepka, is no great golfer. He's won the U.S. Open twice in a row. He's won the PGA twice in a row. That's all he can win. His total career PGA victories in 5 years is 6. 4 of those are the U.S. Open and PGA. You can't be a great golfer if you can't win the minor tournaments, too. Tiger has won 61 of them. All right? You just can't say I'm a great golfer because I won 2 majors each twice in a row, and I won a handful of other victories along the way. This guy is no great golfer, even though he's rated #1 in the world right now.
Right. Hey, Ed, just keep listening. I gotta drop you because we gotta keep moving. Keep listening though, but we'll answer that question real quick. And I agree with Ed. First of all, let me hear what you guys think about it.
First of all, his name is Brooks Koepka, not Bruce. And secondly, if you win 3 majors, that's pretty darn good. Even if you even if you don't do anything else in your whole career, you're going to be remembered for that. So I don't know, what the issue is with.
But does that make you great?
Oh, I mean, it makes you pretty good.
Well, I don't know.
Sergio Garcia won a Masters. Does that make him great?
That day. But here's the thing. I'm no golf expert, and I'm not even going to pretend to play one on the radio. But I assume in the rankings, maybe the majors count for something a little extra, and typically those courses maybe are more challenging than the other tournaments that are going on, I assume.
Yeah.
So maybe currently, because of those points and however they determine the rankings. I'm not a big fan of rankings. in general.
Right.
Because they who's ranking the rankers?
Right. But I agree with Ed. I think I'm a Tiger Woods fan too, and there are a lot of listeners out there. There are a lot of people who have jumped on the bandwagon of golf because of Tiger Woods. We know the television ratings every time when he was in his prime that they shot off the roof. And on Sundays, if that guy is in the hunt, people are glued to their television monitors because it was Tiger Woods. That's greatness. Jack is greatness. Palmer, those guys, they're greatness. When you win a major, you're good, in my opinion. You're good. But when you can string along consecutive majors.
And another thing is he's made the cut 91% of the major championships he's played in, 20 out of 22. So he hasn't won them all, but he's played pretty darn good.
Yeah, well, a lot of players play pretty darn good, but you gotta build a resume, and you have a body of work, in my opinion, before you can be called great. Ladies and gentlemen, I got a great guest coming up. We have a great guest coming up. George Castle, Chicago baseball historian, will be joining us to talk about the 35th anniversary, Ryne Sandberg, the Ryne Sandberg game.
Did he buy an old style from you, George?
No, he was running up and down the press box. We'll get a chance to talk with them after this short time out. Gabe Salgado and our Monster Education Foundation Sports Desk. Take it away, our TRS60 scoreboard update, buddy.
TRS60 Sports Update.
It's sponsored by the Monster Education Foundation. A 3-run home run by Javier Baez, the 100th of his career, helped the Cubs come from behind to beat the New York Mets at Wrigley Field 5-3 today. The Cubs wind up splitting that 4-game series. The White Sox pitching staff continues to struggle in Arlington as Ivan Nova gave up 5 runs today in a 7-4 road loss to the Texas Rangers. The Sox lose 2 of 3 in this series and were outscored 17-14. The day after the NBA draft concluded, the NHL draft took center stage this week. The Blackhawks used their first-round pick, 3rd overall, to take center Kirby Dach, who scored 25 goals and had 48 assists for the Saskatoon Blades of the Western Hockey League last season. The Hawks will have him at their prospect camp within the coming weeks. At the FIFA Women's World Cup, Team USA is advanced to the round of 16, where Spain awaits them tomorrow afternoon. The Americans have scored 18 goals so far while giving up 0 as they look to win their 4th World Cup title. And at the Gold Cup, Team USA men defeated Trinidad and Tobago last night 6-0. So the Americans on a roll as far as soccer is concerned. This update is sponsored by the Monster Education Foundation, MEF, empowering the next generation of leaders. And don't forget to sign up for the Monster 5K Run and Walk later this year. Go to monstereducationfoundation.org to learn more. I'm Gabe Salgado for the Rewind Sports 60 and WCPT 820, Chicago.
You're watching the Rewind Sports 60. Go Illini!
It's the end of the quarter. Time for a break in the action. The hottest sports panel in Chicago will get back to the fast-paced action, streaming live on Facebook Live. We're back at it after this quick timeout. So don't you dare touch that iPhone, Android, iPad, Mac, or PC. Lock it in.
The Rewind Sports 60 is brought to you by Serenello's Ristorante Italiano. Inspired by his travels and passion for Italy's culture, executive chef Michael Bonner has created a broad menu of Italian fare, utilizing the freshest ingredients to create the fullest flavors to bring homemade, handcrafted pizzas and pastas, as well as prime steaks and fresh fish dishes to the table. Feel the energy while dining in a casual and rustic setting. Dine at natural reclaimed wood tables surrounded by inviting darker woods, exposed brick beams, subtle filament lighting, and accented with muted chocolate and caramel tones throughout. An impressive 50-foot bar lines an entire wall with seating for all. The perfect place to relax, eat, and drink with your family and friends. Serenello's Ristorante Italiano is located at 601 North Milwaukee Avenue in Wheeling. Tell them the Rewind Sports 60 told you to stop by.
Hi, I'm Liz Nicholson Sullivan. As the wife of a 9-year NFL veteran suffering the long-term effects of untreated and undiagnosed head injuries, I know how dangerous concussions can be. The Concussion Legacy Foundation is a nonprofit dedicated to keeping kids safe in sports. Their Team Up Speak Up program teaches kids to speak up to a coach or athletic trainer if they think their teammate might have a concussion. Whether you're a parent, coach, or athlete, you can make a difference. Join me and sign up at teamupspeakup.org.
The Rewind Sports 60 is sponsored by Bazaar World. Stop by Bazaar World in Niles, celebrating their grand opening with a huge sale. Hats, gloves, belts, rings, bracelets, necklaces, and much, much more. The largest jewelry and accessory store in the Chicagoland area. Bazaar World, located at 8526 West Gulf Road in Niles, near the corner of Milwaukee and Gulf. Bazaar World in Niles. Stop in and say hello to Alex. Mention a Rewind Sports 60 and receive a free gift.
Basketball, soccer, hockey.
When it comes to sports, my son is all in.
Football.
He always wears his mouth guard.
Lacrosse.
His dentist said the right mouth guard helps protect against broken teeth and head injuries.
Skateboarding.
Like concussions.
Ooh, wrestling.
Ask your dentist which mouth guard is best for your young athlete. And relax.
Bull riding.
A little.
Just kidding, Mom.
Talk to a Chicago Dental Society dentist. Visit cds.org/mouthguard. Sponsored by the Chicago Dental Society, aired in cooperation with this station.
The Rewind Sports 60 is brought to you by the Liquor Barn, located in Wheeling and Niles. Stop by 287 East Dundee Road in Wheeling or 8170 Gulf Road in Niles for all your wine and spirits needs. The Liquor Barn, located in Wheeling and Niles. And remember, tell Marcel and Tom in Wheeling that the Rewind Sports 60 told you to stop in and say hello. Mention a Rewind Sports 60 and receive a free gift.
If it's Chicago sports you want, you're in the right place.
Hello, Chicago!
The Rewind Sports 60.
That's the best in the city of Chicago.
Welcome back to the Rewind Sports 60 live with the best sports panel in Chicago. Lock it in.
Come on, everybody, do it! Yeah! Jerry! Come on, everybody, join in! Come on, Carlino!
I'm just here for my Jerry beads.
Come on, Carlino! Come on, Marvelous!
Is this when we all start fighting?
Yeah!
Yeah, Gabe, I'm going to pull off your wig.
Yeah!
I'll hit you with my shoes.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane, bro.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rewind Sports 60. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, and the cast of characters, Danny Carlino, the Italian Stallion, Marvelous One, Dan Marver, and, of course, Gabe Salgado. What's his name again?
El
Mago!
Did you see that scene, that video of the parents fighting at the kids' baseball game out in Colorado?
I did not see that.
7-year-old baseball game, and the umpire was 13.
Oh, you gotta love it.
And they're all, and like, this is what happens because Jerry Springer's been off the air for a year, and that's where the guests are. They were all at that baseball game.
That's unbelievable, man. What is wrong?
Did you guys know Jerry Springer was the mayor of Cincinnati?
Of course we did.
Yeah, and he likes to write checks.
There you go.
We won't say what for.
Welcome back to Rewind Sports 60. Anything in the world of sports you ladies and gentlemen want to talk about, our number is 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. You can get an opportunity to talk about the Ryne Sandberg. I got to say hello to my good friend Steve Gassman. Steve, God bless you, brother. Thank you so very much. Steve was out there at the parade, the 125th anniversary of Wheeling, where we were out there representing the Rewind Sports 60, and of course... All right!
You should have had your daughter blurring this out of the car.
Yeah. All right, close the door and lock it. Come on. All right, thank you. But Steve, autograph one, he was out there representing, and it was a lot of fun. And people out there in Wheeling, we appreciate you, all the support. We appreciate this gentleman as well, ladies and gentlemen. I've been knowing him, and I got to ask him, where the heck was he? I know where he was, but I got to ask him. He's a good friend of the program, ladies and gentlemen. I love this guy. He is, I like to call him and label him, the baseball historian of Chicago. But not only of Chicago, this guy has a mind that's an impeccable, and outside of Les Grobstein, a Chicago radio legend in his own right, this guy, George Castle, on our TRS60 hotline is fabulous as far as his knowledge is concerned, particularly, especially in baseball. And we welcome him on the Rewind Sports 60.
He gets more sleep than Les, too.
There you go. George Castle, what's up, man? How are you?
Good evening, Jerry and cast and crew. And everybody chanting Jerry. Was each single person being paid 98 cents, which is the cost of admission at Disco Demolition?
Well, I don't think it was 98 cents. I think it was more like 2 cents worth. I think it was a 2 cents.
Which you always
they always giving me their 2 cents.
It was free for those who could climb up the side of the building and get through the window.
Castle, how are you, buddy?
I'm staying dry. Aren't we all?
Yeah, we certainly are. There's no question about it. But 35 years ago, there were a lot of people who were soaking in the suds, that's for sure, over at Wrigley Field, the friendly confines, whether they were Cub fans or whether they were Cardinal fans. And what an incredible game, the Ryne Sandberg game with the 2 homers, both to tie it up in the 9th and again in the 11th, and, of course, with the get the victory in the 11th inning. Where was a young George Castle during the Ryne Sandberg game?
I was down soaking up the sun. Were you ever in that old press box that hung from the upper deck?
In the what?
I don't know if you're that old. The old press box.
Oh yeah, I was. It was unbelievable, George. It was it was unbelievable. It was, man. You have to hold on to both rails. Hopefully you didn't fall over or the steps break because it was all made out of wood. And then I thought I was at like a well, I'm not gonna. Well, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
Well, I was covering the game. Of course, I was sports editor of a paper. Northside newspaper at the time, but I was also covering the game for the Decatur Herald, which has split Cubs-Cardinals loyalties downstate. So it was a game of huge interest. And I recall that late in the game, I was going to angle my story on Willie McGee hitting for the cycle, driving in 7 runs, and Cardinals starter Ralph Citarella, getting bombed out, early. Not lasting a long time. It was going to be a Cardinals-oriented story. And then things started to happen, and Ryne Sandberg made a Hall of Fame career out of himself, starting with that afternoon, and there was another demarcation line in Cubs history that vaulted the Cubs into a much greater profile than they had before. And the first time, they had this demarcation line, of course, is 1969, and Fergie Jenkins and I have written about this book, and you've helped promote it, the 1969 Cubs, long remembered, never forgotten.
Exactly.
But there was the demarcation line of 1969. Cubs became a great summertime attraction because of that team. And now in 1984, Ryne Sandberg knew he could be an impact player because he hit 2 game-tying home runs back-to-back at-bats off the most unhittable relief pitcher in baseball then, Bruce Sutter. And it made the crowd, it just energized the crowd because the Cardinals had been world champions 2 years before, and the Cubs had let Bruce Sutter go because owner Bill Wrigley wouldn't pay him $700,000 in an arbitration case that future Cubs president Annie MacPhail had represented the Cubs in.
Which was, that made it much more, it was very difficult for Cub fans to say goodbye to Bruce Sutter because he was basically the best closer in baseball with that split finger.
He was kind of the originator of that, and one of the original firemen, as they called him back in those days.
Yeah.
Think about it. He gave up you just said something that may never happen again.
Right.
Except maybe in the playoffs. He gave up a game-tying homer in the 9th and the 11th.
Exactly.
Who the hell pitches that long?
Exactly.
But yeah, and that was very common. Lee Smith would go that long, and of course, Lee Smith was the Cubs closer then, and now he's being inducted in the Hall of Fame. But I'll wind the clock back maybe 5 years first. This was rare for Sutter to do that. Unprecedented. I don't think it ever happened in his career, but in the 23-22 game against the Phillies, Sutter had given up the game-winning homer to Mike Schmidt that went much farther than either of Sandberg's homers, went way over the camera, way out onto Waveland Avenue on a hanging 3-2 splitter. Now, you only got him on that split-finger fastball, gentlemen, if it didn't break, or if it didn't break the way it's supposed to.
Well,
Ryne Sandberg has admitted that he did a latter-day version of the launch angle and got under that pitch. But Sutter had to hang those 2 pitches, and certainly the second pitch, the second home run from probably, throwing too many innings that day was the result of that. But here's what happened. The Cubs had become competitive after 5 years or more of non-competition, non-contendership. They were a joke. But they got off to a pretty good start in the 84 season. Gary Matthews and Bob Dernier plugged up 2 outfield holes, came over in a great springtime trade, but the Cubs starting pitching was still a little shaky. Cubs are still trying to establish themselves as a contender. What better measuring stick at the time than against the arch-rival Cardinals? And Ryne Sandberg practically does it all by himself. And from then on, the Cubs just went on a wild ride to the National League East Championship, and had that, of course, the freak 3 games that they lost in San Diego. But from then on, all Cub teams except in strike years have drawn over 2 million fans. The 84 Cubs are the first Cubs team to draw over 2 million, and it took, of course, Sammy Sosa, the home run duel against Mark McGwire. That got attendance in the high 2 millions, and the 2003 team, the near-miss World Series team with the Bartman game, that was the Cubs team that got them over the 3 million mark, which is what they typically draw today.
Yeah, we're on with the co-author. I like to call him a Chicago baseball historian here in the greatest city in the world, co-author of the Ferguson-Jenkins books, The 1969 Cubs, Long Remembered, Never Forgotten, Ferguson-Jenkins. What a great book. Go out there and get it. And we have to say again, courtesy of our good friend Steve Gassman of Autograph One. George Castle, you bring a wealth of knowledge to the table, and there's so many dynamics as far as that 1984 season was concerned, but as far as Ryne Sandberg and the 35th anniversary of the game, it's interesting to know. We got so much going on now, social media, Facebook, Twitter, we got all that stuff going on. Back in 1984, it's just a good old television monitor, and the television sets were on. People were turning on the game, and when he came back and hit the homer to tie it up in the ninth inning, 9-9 in the ninth, I mean, people started running to the bars. They started running to the television monitors to watch this baseball game because they couldn't believe it. I mean, the Cubs were trailing something like, you help me out, they were trailing 7-1 in that game. I believe they were trailing 9-3.
I think it was 9-3.
9-3. Yeah. And they clawed back. They fought back. And like you talked about, Sarge, with what he was able to bring to the table, Bobby Denier, what he was able to do. He was on in the 11th inning when Ryne Sandberg hit the ball out.
He got on. He drew a walk on a very close 3-2 pitch.
Yeah, exactly.
If the umpire had given Suter that last pitch, this wouldn't have happened.
Not at all. But Ryne Sandberg said something about the Bruce Suter pitch, that he said that the reason he was able to fool him because the pitch would come from the outside, and it looked like it was going to be a ball. And then just as it approached the plate, it had almost a 2-foot drop. And that's what would fool the hitter because they think that either they're going to get hit by the pitch or that it was going to be a ball. But they would break in and drop tremendously down into the zone, and that fooled a lot of the hitters. Well, he said he did something that he'd never done in his career prior, and I think he said even after that he dropped the bat head down a little bit lower, and as you mentioned, to get under the ball, and he drove it out, and he's like, wow. And he said, man, I can do something here, because I think he was 3 for 4 at that at bat in the ninth inning. And when he dropped the head of the bat and the ball jacked out, he goes, wow, he surprised himself. Then, of course, he did it again in the 11th.
Well, Jerry and gang, obviously those were not classic splitters that would, break straight down. And any hitter would swing over it, even Sandberg trying to, get down. The only guy that I recall, there were only 2 guys who had really success against Suter, and they were very much low ball hitting left-handed hitters. There was a Cardinal, Ted Simmons, Simba, and a guy with the San Diego Padres, I don't know if you remember him, Jerry Turner. And these guys were low ball hitters. They could go down and get that pitch. They got extra base hits, if not a home run off Suter. But most of the time that ball goes straight down. Any kind of level swing, you're going to swing over it. But these two splitters obviously didn't split as much as they should have, because I don't think there's any way Ryne could have golfed out a vintage splitter the way he did.
Right.
So those hung probably a little bit, and that's the only time when you could beat Bruce like that.
There you go. Hey, anything else on the on the docket for you, or what's going on outside of the 35th anniversary, and of course the book? Tell us a little bit about the 1969 Cubs, Long Remembered and Never Forgotten, George Castle.
Well, Fergie and I took a different perspective to the 1969 season. Everybody knows what happened. We went into the why. We went into everything that went on in that season. We tried to get Leo DeRocher's motivations for doing what he did, or just kind of freezing at the switch and not resting his players. But as I looked into it and double-checked things with Fergie, those players did not want to come out of the lineup. Randy Hundley did not want to take rest in the second games of doubleheaders. Randy came back from a finger infection after being out 5 days in August that year, and normally he would have been on the disabled list. He would have been out 2-3 weeks. You're weak. You've been on medication at the hospital for a week, and he came right back in the lineup, and that's where his season went to hell because he had no rehab time. He had no time to build back up the strength. But Ron Santo, unregulated diabetes at the time. He did not have a glucometer to check his blood sugar. He only could estimate it. Ron Santo, as an unregulated diabetic, type 1 diabetic, played 160 games or more each season, with one exception when he was hit in the face by a Jack Fisher pitch and missed a week. But from 1962 on, he played over 160 games. He didn't want to come out of the lineup, and we don't know how much the diabetes affected him playing all those day games at Wrigley Field. Billy Williams played in 1,117 consecutive games. We don't know how tired he was. Don Kessinger admitted he did not want to come out of the lineup. He played every inning of every game into mid-September till DeRocher finally benched him. Here's a guy with probably 4% body fat. And so the players themselves had to take it under themselves for not, asking for some rest.
Right.
With Ernie Banks with his bad knees played 155 games at age 38. No 38-year-old would play that.
But that was the mentality of those guys back then. It's the fastest hour in sports conversation. Let's go out to the phones real quick, George, before we spring you. Oh, he got rid of George Castle. Let's go out to the phones. George, on the line. What's up, buddy?
Well, I'll tell you, George Castle is one of the great ones. And, Georgie, I follow you on Facebook and keep it coming. But, Jerry, the story of the week, and I'm not going to belabor it. You can pick it up next week, but I think a lot of the major stations have missed it, but here it is. The Tampa Bay Rays have in part agreed with the city of Montreal in next year to play 50% of their games in Florida and 50% of their, quote, home games in Canada. This is going to happen, Jerry. Write it down. Put it in the book. It's going to happen. Okay? Now, folks, I love you. I don't want you to be mad at me. No one is a better Southside fan than me. They can't sustain what's happening on the South Side. The Sox are going to discuss, not this year, Jerry, but next, the possibility of Las Vegas and or another city. And I don't care if people throw tomatoes at good old George Bliss. It's going to happen, Jerry. It's the future of baseball. It's going to happen in football. It's going to happen in soccer. It's already happened in some other minor sports. It's over for single cities of cities that can't sustain this incredible costs of these ball games, Jerry. And I want you to research it and get back to us and start seeing what you can find out.
Well, George, thank you so very much, and you're very perceptive and very clever. I talked to my beautiful wife, Lisa, earlier today, and I said, if you were Jerry Reinsdorf in the Chicago White Sox, with all the success and everything that's going on in Wrigleyville, I said, what would you do to attract your fans to come on out? You got the product on the baseball field, and they're doing a pretty good job, but what would you do? Would you put up more new McCuddies over there? Would you bring more restaurants so people have a place to hang out? And she said exactly what you just pretty much shared with us, that if she owned a team, if she was Jerry Reinsdorf, she'd get the heck out of Chicago and find a new city. And who knows, George, that may be the case. Hey, man, it's the fastest hour in sports conversation. We appreciate everything you do and all you do.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one, and stay in touch, my good friend. George Castle, we apologize for disconnecting you, but we had to say thank you, and we'll get you back on the program. Marty B, the man on the street. We got to go, brother. I'm sorry we couldn't get to you. It is the fastest hour in sports conversation, but we will see you bright and early next week. Don't forget Pride Parade next Sunday on the north side. Yours truly will be showing his pride in the greatest city in the world on the WCPT 820.
Who's driving the truck next week? Or you're not taking the truck?
No, well, we're going to be on the float, Marty B and I. So we'll see what happens. But, folks, keep it locked in. Every Sunday, 6 to 7 p.m. It's the fastest hour in sports conversation, the Rewind Sports 60. On behalf of the Italian Stallion, Danny Carlino, the marvelous one, Dan Marver, and, of course, Gabe Salgado, our update guy. He is the best in the business. Devin Tingle, thank you so much for all your good work. Ladies and gentlemen, follow us on Twitter, Facebook. We're streaming live, so if you missed any portion of the the show, go to Facebook.
I shared it.
And, of course, there you go. And, of course, check us out on Comcast in the northern suburbs, Wednesday, 7 p.m., Channel 17, Channel 19, Channel 35. Folks, have a great rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the week, and we'll see you next Sunday, same time, same station. Gabe Salgado, Monster Education Foundation, Sports Desk. Take it away. TR60 scoreboard update, buddy. Have a good one.
TRS60 Sports Update.
And just a reminder that football season is almost here. The Bears will report to Bourbonnais for training camp on July 25th. They'll go through their conditioning test the next day. Practice begins on the 27th, and their first preseason game will be against the Carolina Panthers at Soldier Field on August 8th. This update is sponsored by the Monster Education Foundation, MEF, empowering the next generation of leaders. I am Gabe Salgado for the Rewind Sports 60 and WCPT 820 Chicago.
They call me Mr. Tibbs.
Yes! 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 You gotta be bleeping me! He drops the ball! That ball hit hard, deep, way back. He looks up, you can't put it on the board! Yes! Yes!
And this is how I believe, okay? I'm from the old school. I believe this. I would rather play.
The preceding program, the Rewind Sports 60, is sponsored by Jerry Riles and to the extent applicable, his guests. The views